Welcome, seventh graders, to the directions on Make a Monster, this activity. To start off with, I gave you a little review on what is DNA. Remember, it is the deoxyribonucleic acid, the abbreviation for DNA. It gave you some information on Mendel, just kind of reviewing our father of genetics and how we talked about his two basic principles of the law of segregation and the law of independent assortment. What we're going to do today when we go through this is we're going to end up creating a monster. We are going to determine the genotype and phenotype for this character that we're going to create. So what you're going to do is, if you're doing this at home, you can do this with a family member, or if you want to do it by yourself, you can certainly do that as well too. What we're going to do is you're going to need a coin, you're going to need this sheet. So what you're going to do is, first off, one person will flip, okay, and if they get a heads, it's the dominant trait, so you'll write the capital letter in the genotype. If they flip and get a tails, they will get the recessive trait. So I have a partner, and what I'm going to do is I flip first, and I flip to heads. So my genotype, first one I'm going to put is E, because it comes from the mom, and I flip to heads I flip to heads, so I get the dominant trait. My partner then flips her coin, and she flipped to tails. So my partner is always flipping to which alleles passed on from the dad. Tails is a recessive trait, so that is the lowercase e. Now I'm looking at the I trait. So I have a capital E, lowercase e, and recalling back to what we had talked about earlier, we know that if we have the capital letter, we have the dominant trait. I come down to my key, and that tells me then my phenotype is two small i's. Okay. I repeat this process again for the eye color. So if I'm flipping for what allele I get from the mom, I flip, and let's say that I get a head, so I get a capital letter. My partner flips, she gets a head, so she gets a capital R. My eye color is going to be red. Okay. Now I flip down. We're doing skin color. So if I flip, and let's say I get a tails. So I put the lowercase letter for the allele, and my partner flips, and she also gets a tails. So now we both have the recessive traits. So I come down here to look at skin color. That means that I will have blue for my phenotype, that physical description. Okay, it's going to be you and your partner flipping a coin. One of you flips for the mom, the allele that is passed on from the mom. Heads is the dominant trait. Tails is the recessive trait. Your partner will do the same thing for those traits as well. You'll continue all the way down till you get through all 14 traits. And you're identifying the genotype and phenotype using this key. Next step I would like you to do is, if you were in class and you received the paper copy, go ahead and draw your monster right here. What does it look like? Use your artistic representation of that using these phenotypes right here, using colored pencils to match up those colors appropriately. I will also attach a digital version with this and digital directions that you can go ahead and take a look at if that's an option you would like to do. But once you have completed your drawing, we have some conclusion questions that I would like you to go through. This is what I want to use to assess. Were you able to take that knowledge from our discussion, our notes discussion, our guided notes, our application of these notes, and applying it to an example and being able to identify these 10 questions. So just go ahead, go through. You can type on this digital document. You can handwrite it on your paper copy with that, but just make sure that you have this completed. If you do have any further questions, please reach out to me.